You are listening to the Marriage Clinic Podcast, a podcast on love, marriage, and personal development. Our purpose is to inspire and equip you with knowledge and skills to enable you to have lasting and fulfilling relationships. Now your host, Joshua Mulgrew.
Welcome to the Marriage Clinic Podcast. You're welcome from wherever you are watching this. This is a podcast about love, marriage, and your personal development. And I am your host, Dr. Joshua Mulgrew. It's always a pleasure to be with you. We air it on Thursdays, but you may be watching it at different times. I'm really excited about what we have to show you today. After this whole long series we had on cheating and the sadness of cheating, I want to bring to you an interview that was had recently, and I think it will warm your heart. My father in the Lord is Archbishop Agyinasare, and his wife is Reverend Vivian Agyinasare. We love to call her Mama Vivi. And recently they had an interview about their marriage, how they met, how they knew they were the ones, how they were able to have their wedding, and the challenges they had faced all these years. I believe that it's a heartwarming message that today's generation has to hear. So today we are going to bring you part 1 on Archbishop Agyinasare and Mama Vivi on their marriage. So please enjoy this, and I'll come at the tail end to give you some information. So today is part 1. Take care.
Precious one, welcome to Time with Archbishop Charles. This is my 40th year in ministry and in a miracle ministry. And I've been talking to a number of people, and I'll be talking to some more who have known me during this course of the 40 years and have impacted my life. Today, there's a very special person I'm going to be talking to. This person is none other than the only chicken in my soup, the only fish in my stew. It's none other than my dear wife, Reverend Mrs. Vivian Agyinasare. Honey, you're welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor.
You are looking good and very tempting. But
you.
For somebody who doesn't know Reverend Mrs. Vivian Agyinasare, who is Reverend Mrs. Vivian Agyinasare?
Reverend Mrs. Agyinasare is married to Archbishop Agyinasare.
Chai.
Has 3 biological children, 2 boys and a girl, and 1 adopted daughter. That daughter is my sister's daughter. And we got married in Akimoda about 38 years ago. And from Akimoda, we went to Tamale when I was highly pregnant, because we went to Tamale to hold a gospel crusade. I had to follow you to Tamale, where we settled finally for about 7 years. And so that's it.
We met 39 years ago in 1984. I had come for a crusade in Akimoda. In fact, I was part of the advance team for Brother Agbozo, and we came and we saw you ladies there who were very committed to the Scripture Union. You were part of those who were serving, and you had done that severally for many men and women of God who had come to Akimoda. But some way, somehow, when you walked into the room that day, my heart was like ice block placed in the sun. You threw me off my feet, I would say. I mean, I was head over heels for you. So that day, how? Were you getting the same vibes I was getting, or what happened?
It was a normal thing that we were doing at that time, because I don't know what God did at that particular time, that he started raising men and women of God, and all of them were coming to Akimoda I don't know what was special about Akimoda, but all the men of God, the young men of God were coming. So they were also holding crusades, getting into churches, equipping people and teaching. And so I thought it was a normal thing having you people there. So when I saw you, I saw the fire in you and the other brethren who came. Little did I know that we were going to.
So there was no. So when you looked into my eyes, you didn't really.
No, not really, because
If it was even really, you would tell me.
maybe it was later when you proposed, because I saw you as a brother. I loved your energy and your passion for Christ. That was it. But afterwards,
I remember on that trip, when Brother Agozo came, I had to go and pay for his hotel accommodation, and I was going, and I passed through your house that morning, and you served me some Tom Brown. And it said that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And that Tom Brown, and I remember the way you cut the tea bread. Before then, I see people cutting the tea bread, they just cut it in the middle, they cut it like that. But you sliced the thing. Was it intentional to capture me, or why did you slice the tea bread like
that? It was a normal thing that I was doing always. I love to garnish food, I love to cook food, I love to...
Because you were a home economics teacher.
Yes,
too.
And so I love to do that. So it was a normal thing that I did.
But it was a really...
To make you happy.
Okay.
So I love to serve. That is me. Okay. I think that was a normal thing that I normally do.
It's very important to mention that you were working for the Lord when I saw you. And that was one of the things that touched my heart. I was already in ministry because I came into full-time ministry in 83. And 84, I saw you in Akimoda. When I saw you, the way you were serving and ministering, and how I felt, I thought that you would be a good wife. So we came back to Accra. I kept praying about it. I traveled to missions in the Volta region. I kept praying about it. And then I came down to Akimoda after I had returned from missions in December 84, and to tell you my intentions. And can you tell us a little bit about those beginning days or that period of our lives?
Anyway, when you came back, I thought it was a normal visit, maybe a follow-up visit for the souls that were won. And so...
You didn't know I was following up?
No, I didn't know you were. Not at all.
Okay.
And so I had a clear mind until you proposed. And when you proposed, I said, this young man, what is he talking about? So I had some friends, and I was in the Assemblies of God Church. I was in the Christian Fellowship. And so when I told my friends, one particular lady, I told her, look at what this young man is saying. And he said, oh, why not consider? I said, okay. Then...
You told the other friends too?
I told the other friends. And most of them were in the university. And so one particular one said, but you don't know this guy. He's just coming from Accra. Is he a pastor? I said, he says he's an itinerant evangelist. Then if you're a pastor, you don't go to Bible school, you were not considered among pastors.
No, because the Assemblies of God had a Bible school.
Had a Bible school. So He said, has he attended any Bible school? I said, I don't know. But he was to attend a Bible school. So he went back and he started writing. Then there was no telephone. We were just...
There was telephone, but it was landline.
Yeah, landline.
And it was difficult to get through.
Exactly.
Especially when the weather was bad, you don't get through.
And in a place like that, it wasn't easy to make a call. So we're just communicating through letters.
And I wrote too.
You wrote anyway.
I wrote poems.
I'd never had.
I wrote songs for you.
Then I had somebody in mind who was a classmate, and that he was also in a medical school. So when he came to, I was confused. I said, "Can this be?" So my best friend said, "Looks like this guy is not correct. He doesn't look serious, because when our friends go call him for morning devotion and prayer time, he doesn't come. He's been so busy about nothing. So why not just wait and consider this one?"
Which one?
You consider Charles.
Okay.
And so I said, okay. Not long, then another person also came, who was in the Christian fellowship. And because he heard that you had come to propose, he also came and said, "Oh, do you know I'm also interested in you?" And I said, "Oh, no, this cannot happen." And so you started praying, you went back and started praying. And I also went out to introna a friend who was a nurse. And I prayed my heart through and got convinced that I was going to go out with you. That was
so. That's how I won the election.
Yes.
Wow. But I remember you had written to bounce me. And when you wrote, these days a lot of the young guys, once they are bounced once, they think that is the end of it. But you wrote to bounce me because you asked me. I was insisting. I wanted us to have a wedding, after you agreed. And you agreed in January, and I said I wanted us to have a wedding in June. And then you asked me what preparations I had made. And then I said, I don't have anything. The only thing I had was a packet of icing sugar. Wow, and you got mad. Your next letter was, "Let's break." Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. One,
okay,
I had not told my father.
Okay.
And two, I thought you were not serious, because how can somebody who is serious marry with one packet of icing sugar? And so I said, no, I will be found wanting if I marry this guy. So I said, okay, let's hold on. And I just canceled the thing. That was it.
Wow. And when I got your letter of cancellation, I wrote back to you. Recently, you showed me the letter I wrote. And in the letter, I said, do you remember? I remember exactly what I said, but I don't know whether you remember. I said, when Jacob came to Isaac for him to bless him, Isaac knew in his heart it was Jacob, but he walked by his senses and touched him. And so in your heart, you know I'm the one, but your senses are telling you that I'm not the guy, but I'm going to marry you. And so I said, I'm giving you some time, and on a particular day, I'm coming to hear my result of your final conclusion. And so the date was set, and then on the day I was coming to hear the conclusion, I was holding a crusade in Samankese. I had a motor ride from one Mr. Eduamoa to Akimoda, and there's this normal route that we normally use.
Yes, after deliberating on how I was going to face you and say yes, my head was telling me it can be possible, but my heart was saying it will be possible. Go for it. But that time, after much prayer, the devil can also whisper. So I just took what my head was telling me, that this guy cannot be your husband. And so I decided to go out from
run out of the house.
Run out of the house. There are two routes that leads out of my house: the front gate and the back gate. So I decided to.
And the front gate is the normal nice road.
Yeah. But
the back gate is a footpath.
Yeah, it's a footpath. And that path, because there was a mortuary behind that path, so normally I don't like passing there. So I decided that let me just use the mortuary gate. And surprisingly, when I was coming out,
you saw
I saw you coming. And I halted. I couldn't go further. And so you said, okay, let's go back home. Today I'm taking my final answer. Whatever you tell me today is going to be, I will take whatever you tell me today. It's going to be final. So we went and we stood outside. I said, today, you just give me the answer. I'll take whatever you tell me. Then I pondered over what you told me. And my heart was beating. So I just opened my mouth and I said,
yes.
Yes. And that yes was binding. So I couldn't say no again. And that was how we started the whole thing.
Planning.
Yeah.
Try.
So you too, when I bounced you that day, what was your reaction?
When I got the letter, I was not surprised, because rationally, who want to marry a guy who doesn't have a house, he wants to wed, he doesn't have anything, he just says he has a packet of ice and sugar. But I because I was operating by faith, and I was so convinced, I had an assurance within me. I knew that you were the woman made for me. So it didn't move me. And so immediately I got the letter, I sat down and I replied. And I told you that I'm going to marry you. And that's when I talked about the Esau. And so I sent that first letter. I followed with the second one. I followed with the third one. You know, I was so convinced. In the past, I had been bounced by different people in my past. You know, when I got saved, you know, after some time, there was a lady I thought I wanted to marry, and she said I had left the church that we were in, so she wasn't going to marry me. And then another person said, she said, you know, she was older than me, so she thought that, you know, so I had been bounced. And I thought that I don't know, but because of my understanding of faith, I've always felt that when you fall, you must rise up. When you fall 7 times, you must rise 7 times. And so your bouncing was not too much of a challenge for me.
And you know what? One of my reasons why I bounced you was I was older than you.
Okay.
And so I said, me, those days I wanted somebody who was older than I am.
You thought I couldn't take it?
Yes, because we all believe that when you get married to an older person, that person could take care of you. So I said, no, I'm older than you, so it can't happen. But I just recollect, I went back and some of my friends who were in the fellowship and the church, I took note of some of them who married and some of them were older than their husbands. And so my friend Christy told me, it's not news. It's not news. So don't lament over this one. Just, this guy has a future. You can see that he has a future. He is so zealous. He fears the Lord. and he'll be a good husband. I went to Christy and I was crying. He said, no, don't cry. That lady
Really strengthened your
may
heart.
may she rest in peace. She's going to be with the Lord. She encouraged me. She said it's possible. Go for it. And she was, when we got married, she was one of our best friends. We could leave our children with her. She was a real friend.
No, so fast forward. Have I been able to take care of you?
Of course. I've never regretted.
More than.
You've tried.
See the way you are dressed. You can see my money.
See the way you are looking. You are looking more younger than your
That is
colleagues.
true. That is true. That is true. Yes, that is true.
And very handsome.
Thank you.
That means I've also tried my best.
You've done very well. You've
Yeah.
taken very good care of me.
Thank
Yes,
you.
and
Thank you.
You're also looking pretty.
Thank
You
you.
know, you don't look your age.
Thank you.
No, surprisingly, not only do you not look your age, but you see this weighing scale that when you stand on it can tell you your age. You know, anytime we've done it, amazingly, the scale has given you 10 years younger. Most of the people around us, it gives them, even the ladies, 5 years older, 6 years older, but it has always given you 10 years younger.
Grace.
Amen. You've been blessed.
Amen.
You see, I've taken very good care of you. Good. If I had been giving you trouble, you would have been looking something.
Anyway,
So we thank God.
we thank God.
God did a lot of good things for us, because your dad, previously you had introduced one or two people to your dad who were even from your tribe, and your dad rejected them. And here I was, I don't come from your tribe, and then you had to go and tell your dad. And amazingly, that was one of the things you were afraid of, that your dad will reject the proposal.
Yes, you know, I'm an Ewe. I'm an Angola. And those days, a few people married from outside our tribe, especially from my family. I've never seen anyone marry an Akan then. So I went to tell my dad, and he said, no, it can't be possible. Do you know that Akans inherit maternally? And I said, yes. Do you know that if your husband happens to die, or if he dies, all the sisters and the nephews will come and lock you the house? And I said, yes. Then he said, because of that, I can't release you. So I informed you, and you said, let's pray. I prayed, and there was an uncle, my dad's uncle. My dad went to tell his uncle, and he was like, oh, but you know, this is not the first time. And Okwenu is a relative. So he said, I'm married a Fanti. So let her go. That's where my dad relaxed and decided that, okay, I will let it go. And so
I was praying.
You were praying. You really prayed.
And losing and setting in motion, making declarations and making proclamations.
Because he hadn't seen you.
He hadn't even seen me when he accepted
yes,
it.
He hadn't seen you, but he just said, no, let it go. And your parents came to see my dad. And even then, they hadn't seen.
Your dad said, my father is a small boy.
Yes, your father was so young looking. Then he had Alex, he had Amy, and he was still looking young.
Yeah.
And so he said, how can this young man
have a son to come and marry my
daughter? And so
amazingly, when we fixed the date to meet your dad, I had prayed for favor. And I walked in and I met your dad. And the first thing he said, I'll never forget. He said, I don't know you, but I like you. And that for me was very refreshing. Why I said it is because prayer can do things.
Yes.
Prayer can change
I know.
things, And there are some young people out there who are probably encountering what I encountered, and they have a resistance in their proposal. And I want to encourage them not to give up, but to press on and persevere and get it done.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm pretty certain you enjoyed watching the first part of this. It was amazing. I'm sure you were touched. I'm sure you learned a lot. Next week, we will be bringing you the next part of the interview. Please do take notes. There are some nuggets in there. And at the end of everything, we're going to discuss how some of the things that happened, are they applicable in today's time? So I'm glad you joined us. Please drop your questions. Because of the length of it, we will not be taking questions today, but subsequently we will come back to Ask Uncle Josh. Thank you so much for being a part of the Marriage Clinic. God bless you. Bye bye.